In this video, I'll be showing you how to build a patio with pavers. I went from this to this. The first thing I had to do was dig out the soil about 10 centimeters deep. There were so many weeds that I had to remove. I marked out the area I needed to dig with string and stakes just so that I could keep my digging area straight. I have clay soil, so it was very hard to dig. I almost gave up at this point, but I realised I had to use the hose, wet down the area, wait for about 30 minutes and then use the fork to loosen the soil. Here you can see I still have the top left corner to dig, but I decided to call it a night as I was physically shattered. So this is the next day and I've removed all of the dirt and levelled out the area as much as I could. Here's where I started to get excited because my delivery came and I forgot to record the first part. So after I levelled and tampered down the soil, I put the weed control fabric down and then started to shovel on the sub base. I spritzed it lightly with water and used the tamper to compact it down. It's the next day and I had to add another level of sub base down. You can see where I need to level the piles. I decided to take a little break because, as you can see, my friend kept landing where I needed to tamper. After I came back, I placed a layer of weed control fabric on top of the sub base and layered down the sand. This is where I made my first mistake, but I'll explain that later in the video along with a few tips and a list of the things I think you might need if you decide to build a patio yourself. Okay, so here you can see I've already placed the first 3 rows of pavers. I noticed a bit of height difference and said I would fix it after I finished leveling the sand. Here I'm using my spirit level and the PVC pipes to screed the sand and make it as level as I can. The ground was already at a slope before I started to dig, so it was easier for me to follow to make sure my patio would drain off if it rained. I actually found this part quite relaxing. This is what it looks like once you remove the pipe and fill it in with sand. I placed the spacers in between like this because the pavers have a pattern on top, making them uneven for the spacers to sit straight. And here's what it looks like all laid out. It's not completely even, but it will do. As you can see, I laid the gloves on top of the pavers I was supposed to level out. Spoiler alert, I still didn't do it. Here you can see I'm dry pouring the mortar to fill in between the gaps. It's the next day and I'm sweeping off the excess mortar as it got too dark the day before, so I couldn't actually see what I was doing. Here's a close-up of what the mortar looks like dry. This is after the first misting of water. This is after 15 minutes. This is the second misting. I filled in the stones, lights and plants while waiting for the 15 minutes to pass. I think this was my last misting before I went inside. Waited for it to dry, and then nature did the rest for me. The next day I laid the rest of the stones, lights, plants and placed the base of my parasol on the pavers. Technically this should be the finished result, but it's not. Remember when I said I made my first mistake? Well, this is what happened. I placed the weed control fabric over the sub base and levelled the sand. Then I tampered the sand down, which I don't think was the right thing to do. Here you can see my daughter helping me out with the tamper. So the day after we tampered down the sand, I layered more sand on top and started to screed that. If you're wondering what that orange stuff is on the sand, it's chili pepper to stop the foxes from using the sand as their litter tray overnight. I continued to screed and lay the pavers until completed, and by the time I finished it was getting dark. This is what it looked like and I was happy with it, so I called it a night. But I didn't sleep very well because after doing more research and finding mixed information, it seems like the most amount of sand you want under your pavers without mortar underneath is anywhere from 1 to 5 centimeters. So there's minimal sinking. And I think mine was about 6 to 8. Here I was thinking, should I, shouldn't I? Yep, I picked them all back up. This is after laying the first 3 rows, and here you can see the difference in height. So now the edging is higher than the pavers, but that's fine, I can live with that. And this is the second mistake I made. I suggest you fill in the gaps with a piping bag so there's minimal grout spillage on your tiles. This is what it looks like wet versus dry with the grout haze left on the pavers. So here I'll show you how to remove it. Can you see how much grout is in between the pattern on the pavers versus the one I cleaned the day before? To clean them, you will need a nylon scrubbing brush, a toothbrush, water and vinegar solution. Pour the solution on first, which is 3 parts vinegar to 1 part water, and spread it over the pavers. Spray a little bit of water to make the solution spread further. Let it sit for about a minute or 2 and then scrub lightly. Can you see the slight haze? That's what you're trying to remove. Use the toothbrush for bits that the brush can't get to. Once you've completely scrubbed off the grout, give it a hose down so it doesn't dry back on the pavers. Don't do big areas at once. This is what it looks like once dried. Then I sealed the patio with Wick Sealer. This is the first coat. This is once it started to dry. This is after the second coat. And this is what it looks like dry. I absolutely love it. As you can see, I covered a small area around the chair and swing, but I laid the pavers straight onto the grass instead of digging. If you want to see that, I'll upload the process in another video. If you found this helpful at all, then please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below if you think you would do anything different. Thanks for watching my take on how to build a patio.